this time, Harry had been on the point of knocking Hedwig's cage by magic and sending her to Ron and Hermione with a ladder, but it wasn't worth the risk. Underage wizards weren't allowed to use magic out of school. Harry hadn't told the Weasleys this. He knew it was only their terror that he might turn them all into dung beetles that stopped them from knocking him in the cupboard under the stairs with this wand and broomstick for the first couple of weeks back. Harry had enjoyed muttering nonsense words under his breath and watching Dudley tearing out of the room as fast as his fat legs could carry him. But the long silence from Ron and Hermione had made Harry feel so cut off from the magic world that even taunting Dudley had lost its appeal, and now Ron and Hermione had forgotten his birthday. What wouldn't he give now for a message from Hogwarts? From any witch or wizard. He'd almost be glad of a sight of his arch enemy, Draco Malfoy, just to be sure it hadn't all been dreams. End of the last term. Not that his whole year of Hogwarts had been fun, and at that very end of last term, Harry had come face to face with none other than old Voldemort himself. Voldemort might be worn of his former himself, but he was still terrifying, still cunning, still determined to gain power. Harry had slipped through Voldemort's clutches before a time, but it had been a narrow escape, and even now, weeks later, Harry kept waking in the night. The chant in cold sweat, wondering where Voldemort was now, remembering his livid face, his wide, mad eyes. Harry suddenly sat bolt upright on the garden bench. He had been staring absent-mindedly into the hedge, and the hedge was staring back. Two enormous green eyes had appeared among the leaves. Harry jumped to his feet. Just a jeering voice floated across the lawn. "I know what it is," sang Dudley, waddling toward him. The huge eyes blinked and vanished. "What?" said Harry, not taking his eye off the spot where they had been. "I know what it is," Dudley repeated, coming right up to him. "Well done," said Harry. "So you finally learned the days of this week." "Today is your birthday," sneered Dudley. "How come you hadn't got any cards? Haven't you even got friends at the freak place?" "Better not let your mom hear you talking about my school," said Harry coolly. Dudley hushed up his trousers, which were slipping down his fat bottom. Why are you staring at the hedge?" he said suspiciously. "I'm trying to decide that would be the best spell to set it on fire," said Harry. Dudley stumbled backward at once, a look of panic on his fat face. "You can't! Dad told you you're not doing magic. He said he'll chuck you out of the house, and you haven't got anywhere else to go. You haven't got any friends to take you." "Jiggerly-poggerly," said Harry in a fierce voice. "Hocus-pocus, squealy-really." "Mom!" howled Dudley, tripping over his feet as he dashed back into the house. Mom, he's doing you know what? Harry paid dearly for this moment of fun, as neither Dudley nor the hatch was in any way of hurt. And Petunia knew he hadn't wielded magic, but he still had a dog, as she aimed a happy blow at his head with a Sophie frying pan. Then she gave him work to do, with the promise he wouldn't eat again until he'd finished. While Dudley lolled around watching and eating ice cream, Harry cleared the windows, washed the cars, mowed the lawn, trimmed the flower beds, pruned and watered the rose, and repainted the garden bench. The sun blazed overhead, burning the back of his neck. Harry knew he shouldn't have risen Dudley's bait, but Dudley had said the very thing Harry had been thinking himself. Maybe he didn't have any friends at Hogwarts. Wish they could see famous Harry Potter now, he thought savagely as he spread miniature of the flower bed, his back aching, sweat running down his face. It was 7:30 in the evening when at last, exhausted, he heard Aunt Petunia calling him. "Get in here and work on the newspaper." Harry moved gladly into the shade of the gleaming kitchen. On top of the fire stood tonight's pudding, a huge mound of whipped cream and sugared violets. A line of roast pork was sizzling in the oven. "Eat quickly! The Masons will be here soon!" snapped Aunt Petunia, pointing to 2 slices of bread and a lump of cheese on the kitchen table. She was already wearing a salmon pink cocktail dress. Harry washed his hands and bottled down his pitiful supper. The moment he had finished, Aunt Petunia whisked away his plate. "Upstairs, hurry!" And he passed the door of the living room. Harry caught a glimpse of Uncle Vernon and Dudley in bow ties and dinner jackets. He had only just reached the upstairs landing when the doorbell rang, and Uncle Vernon's furious face appeared at the foot of the stairs. "Remember, boy, one sound." Harry crossed to his bedroom on tiptoe, slipped inside, closed the door, and turned to collapse on his bed. The trouble was, there was already someone sitting on it.